Hi everybody, I'm Jojo Gumino-Okol, co-founder of Agribot and BEECALL TBI. I'll be your host for this virtual event. BEECALL is an acronym for BICOL Entrepreneurship and Empowerment Center for Accelerating Local Livelihood. This event is a kickoff for a calendar of upcoming events organized by BEECALL TBI. On behalf of the rest of the team at BEECALL, welcome to the BICOL Regional Showcase. We've got a lot of things in store for you today, so without further ado, let me introduce to you our first special guest and keynote speaker. He was the country's youngest senator and is a globally recognized youth leader and social entrepreneur who authorized the Innovative Startup Act. I'd like to welcome today's first keynote speaker, former Senator Paolo Benigno Bam Aquino IV.
Magandang araw sa mga Bicolano startups natin, and I'm very proud to be here at the Philippine Startup Week BICOL Showcase. Alam niyo po, in my time before becoming a politician or before becoming a senator, nagkaroon rin po ng panahon na isa rin po akong startup. Napagdaanan ko rin po lahat ng mga paghihirap na pinagdaanan po ninyo. At alam ko rin po na malaki po ang potensyal ng Philippine startups na magbigay ng mga makabagong solusyon sa makalumang problema ng ating bansa. Kaya siguro po yung isang maiksing mensahe ko lang para sa ating lahat, sana po pagtibayin natin yung ating mga puso dahil hindi ho madali ang pagiging startup, hindi lang po sa Pilipinas kung hindi sa buong mundo. At syempre, paghusayin natin yung ating pagtatrabaho dahil syempre po, dito po sa startup scene, talagang tagisan ito ng talino at talento ng Pilipino. Rest assured, marami ho sa mga institusyon, marami po sa amin na mga individual, nandito po para magbigay tulong sa inyo. When we passed the Go Negosyo Act and the Innovative Startup Act, yun po binuo para maging isang support system para po sa inyo. Hindi lang po sa mga SMEs or social enterprises, pati rin po sa ating Filipino startups. Nandyan po ang mga batas na yan at marami pang programa ng gobyerno. Nandyan po yan para magbigay tulong sa inyo. And of course, I'm hoping that the large startup fund na nakalagay po sa ating Innovative Startup Act ay umaabot po sa inyo, nagagamit po ninyo, and that the dream of having a Filipino startup start and scale up, not only in the Philippines but in the whole world. We all hope that that dream will come true. At malay ho ninyo, baka kayo po yung magpapatupad ng pangarap na yon. Kaya muli, binabati ko lahat ng mga Bicolano startups out there. May tiwala ho kami na kaya ho nating lumaki, lumago at maging positibong pagbabago dito po sa ating bayan. Maraming salamat po muli. Magandang araw.
Bill Gates once said, "I believe innovation is the most powerful force for change in the world." On this note, may I begin by congratulating you, the future change makers of our maugmang lugar, Naga City, and in general, of our beloved country, for already taking the step in discovering how you can spark change in the lives of every Filipino, even citizens of the world. I hope that your participation in this community event of the 2021 Philippine Startup Week, dubbed as Regional Showcase BICOL, Innovation and Creativity of Bicolano Startups, will inspire you to turn your ideas into reality, and with it, generate employment, accelerate economic growth, and uplift people's lives. In the city of Naga, we are here to help you grow and also grow with you. We understand the value of giving support and nurturing people's dream so that people will never be afraid to try to materialize their aspirations, to trailblaze a new path and propel for our future towards greater heights. This commitment of the city government of Naga can be traced back to the pioneering efforts of the late Naga City Mayor and Interior Secretary Jesse Robredo as early as 2007 with the establishment of the Naga City Creative Media Center. The city's brainchild IT incubation facility produced several outstanding and pioneering firms such as Noika, a mobile app development firm in Naga, who has introduced Hungrily, Community Mart, and Tindahang Tapat. XTSoft, a security software firm serving the French market, and Media Farm Incorporated, an animation and e-learning company doing work for Philippine and international firms. This present administration aims to uphold and improve this legacy and magnify every effort in cultivating a startup ecosystem and in encouraging a culture of innovation in the city. As we institutionalize our startup development program through Ordinance Number 2021-057, known as the Naga City Digital Innovation and Startup Ordinance, we are committed to provide you the needed marketing support, funding, facilities, equipment, mentorship, incubation, and network to help your novel ideas successfully take off. In case you need a comfortable and accessible space, we have the Naga City Digital Innovation Hub, launched in 2019, ready for your use. The Hub seeks not only provide a place for innovation, but also aims to create a strong community where innovators can explore possibilities of cooperation and synergy. Indeed, in unity, there is always strength. With the support of DICT, DTI, DOST, QBO, our local academic institutions, and the private sector, we're not alone in this endeavor in venturing the new frontier of development. Thanks to their partnerships, we gained strategic advantages to widen the opportunities we can provide for startups. Though we have walked a mile in this journey, we acknowledge, however, that we still have a long road ahead towards fulfilling our vision for Naga City to be among the premier startup destinations in the Philippines. Our collective goal is to make Naga a happy place where innovation is the driving force of good governance. And as long as we have change makers like you, who never stop making this world a little bit better each day, we know that we are heading at the right direction. Diyos po ang magbalos sa saindong higos. Salamat sa saindong tabang na padanayon ang progreso kanaga. Naga na!
Thank you for that inspiring message. We're so glad that you could join us for today's event. And thank you for championing government support for Filipino startups. Now, I'm pleased to introduce to you our panel of Bicolano startup founders. Each of them has their own unique entrepreneur journey and loads of wisdom to impart on the community. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as they tell their stories. Our first guest is the founder and CEO of Noika, a BICOL startup who builds, operates, and maintains e-commerce platforms Hungrily, Community, and Tindahang Tapat. Today, Noika Group has grown to over 96 Nagueño engineers, managers, designers, staff, and employees. Please welcome Magno Conag III.
Let me confess, my starting years, like many, were inspired by the success stories of Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, and others. Who would not want to be like them? Wealthy, famous, and powerful. But when the old Noika was clearly failing in 2017 and layoffs were imminent, what's the point of aspiring to be wealthy, famous, and powerful? The team behind Noika today have their roots from a failed iPad point-of-sale startup, Nueva Cáceres Technology Solutions, Inc. It was founded in 2011 at the Naga City Creative Media Center a program of the local government of Naga for incubating local technology entrepreneurs and talents who want to remain in the city. On February 2015, the startup was even featured in Entrepreneur magazine as an example of a homegrown success story featuring Naga City as one of the boomtown's 3 surprising cities that are best for business in the Philippines. However, the iPad POS product did not gain enough traction, business was brutal, and the startup declared defeat in 2017. At that point, I did not want to be Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, or Peter Thiel anymore. I did not want to be wealthy, famous, and powerful anymore. I just wanted to save the livelihood of some 15 people who believed in me when I once rallied them that we're going to change the world. We're going to make Naga or Maugmang Lugar a Silicon Valley far south of Manila. Persistent with the dream of building a local Silicon Valley, family and friends helped me restart. And yes, we're able to save the livelihood of our people from the failed startup. And in January of 2018, we founded Nueca Technologies Inc. We revisited an old idea of helping nanays of sari-sari stores. And the problem of sari-sari stores can be mainly understood as follows. Capital and paninda are limited. Paninda supplied by manufacturers are limited. Distribution model of manufacturers is unreliable. Sourcing paninda via retailers is expensive, inconvenient, and costly. So our conclusion was, sari-sari stores have no one-stop marketplace for low-priced paninda. So our solution was quite natural, a marketplace for sari-sari stores that is complete, thus one-stop shop, low-priced, thus better margins and more profitable, and third, free delivery, thus convenient and big in savings. And we called it Tindahang Tapat. Tindahang Tapat is an app-based e-commerce platform for sari-sari stores where you can order your paninda. For a minimum of 500 to 800 pesos, we'll deliver your paninda same day or if beyond the 3 p.m. cutoff, next day. And the delivery is free. Fast forward, today we have made over 250,000 deliveries to roughly 10,000 sari-sari stores across 5 provinces, namely Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte, Cavite, Batangas, and the Quezon Province. In our recent Tindahang Tapat performance review, it was joyful to discover that in few months' time, we're on track to achieving our gross market value of 1 billion pesos. At the beginning of this year, we collated 12 wonderful stories of our sari-sari store customers for our 2021 Tindahang Tapat calendar. And here's sharing one of the stories to you. From Aline Abelado, she said, "Marami akong nasisave na oras dahil sa Tindahang Tapat. Hindi na na-occupy ng pamimili ng paninda ang oras ko para sa pakikipag-bonding sa mga bata. Sa Tindahang Tapat, pwede kong ma-check kung may kulang pa sa mga pinamili ko. Hindi na rin ako sumusobra sa budget dahil nakikita ko ang presyo. Dahil sa Tindahang Tapat, natutulungan ko na ang sarili ko at nakakatulong na din ako sa iba." I'd like to close by mentioning that our name, Nueca, was derived from the original Spanish name of Naga City, which is Ciudad de Nueva Cáceres, or New Cáceres City. This is a testament to our dream to create opportunities for our talents and make technology companies happen in the small but dynamic city far south of the capital, Manila. Nueca is proudly made in Maugmang Lugar.
What an inspiring story of bouncing back, creating technology solutions for traditional businesses, and supporting your fellow Nagueños. Thank you for being with us today, Magno. We look forward to continuing to watch Nueca's fast growth in BICOL. Our next speaker is the co-founder and managing director of Easy Franchise. Her working experience in startup businesses spans almost 10 years. She found her start at Groupon as a senior relationship manager before lending her sales and marketing expertise to Rocket Internet as their operations manager. She was the marketing and operations director of the taxi hailing app Easy Taxi from 2013 to 2015. She also co-founded FlySpaces, a workspace booking platform. I would love to introduce our next speaker, Bubbles Lim.
My name is Bubbles Lim. I'm the co-founder and managing director of Easy Franchise. I hope you guys are enjoying this event so far, and I hope you have learned experiences from my co-speakers in this event and continue to learn throughout the day. I'm here to share with you my journey in the tech industry as a founder and an entrepreneur as a Bicolano startup. And my journey in the tech startup has been quite a ride, let me tell you. I've been in so many situations that I have been tested, affirmed, and humbled. So I hope you learn from this story. To be honest, I don't know how I could tell you everything of my experiences and all of my learnings in 5 minutes, but let me try, okay? Well, to give you a proper context to the whole story, I think it's important to note first that I am actually I'm actually a nursing graduate. I'm a graduate of Ateneo de Naga University. And before this whole tech ride, I haven't been outside of BICOL that much. And basically I'll go straight to the point. The first lesson I want to share with you is don't let uncharted territories intimidate you. I swear everything that I've learned, experienced, and even achieved are courtesy of my willingness to submit myself to scary situations, at least career-wise. And take note, I said fully submit because I don't want you to think that I was brave all throughout, because I wasn't. I mean, who wasn't afraid, to experience all these unfamiliar territories, right? I was never scared as I navigate. Was I never scared when I navigated to the tech world? Of course not. I really was. I got scared. And there were moments when there were new tasks and responsibilities that got me wide-eyed. But I never chose to freeze. Basically, I didn't let fear consume me back then. Because to me, my goals were clear. And intimidation then, I knew, was just temporary. Which basically brings me to my second takeaway. You need to have a clear vision and to commit to that. You have to take your goal seriously. This goal will help you navigate throughout your career. Even as a teen, it was very clear to me that I wanted to be a CEO. I didn't exactly know how that was going to be and how I was going to become that, but I had a clear resolve that I would just become that. So the years that I was moving from one company to another, in those years, I never lost sight of what I wanted to become. I never lost sight to what my clear vision or goal was for myself. Third lesson I want to share is failure are part of success. There's no way around it, and believe it or not, in hindsight, you are going to be grateful for them. I know for a fact that I would never have been in this position in my life right now had it not been for the bumps and the pitfalls from my previous companies or previous startups that I have endured in the past. Let me tell you as early as now that it's completely normal. It's completely normal, and it will be part of your life. You will fail. You may fail, but make sure that you have a backup plan. Make sure that you have a number 2 so that you can get back up. And since basically you have failure as part of your reality, you accept that it is part of reality, then might as well learn from them and these experiences, recalibrate, and while you're at it, use this as an opportunity to be willing to admit your weaknesses. So, which brings me to my fourth takeaway: humility. Humility is very important in the startup scene or startup industry when you want to be a founder. All the mistakes and failures would be useless kasi if you're just busy pouting and blaming everybody except yourself. Um, I've during my experiences, the pitfalls that I have had with Create.ph, I would have missed the whole point of having to endure that if I let my pride get in the way. But with humility, in humility, I was able to get over my ego, evaluate what I did wrong, and how I can eventually improve on it. And my fifth learning, which may be the most specific and practical that I might have mentioned, is you must, as a founder, you must learn your finances. I promise you, this was one of the most hardest lessons that I have learned from building a startup from ground up. The reality is, whether we like to admit it or not, your cash flow directly affects everything about your startup. So, as a founder, budgeting should be one of your top priorities. When you start the business, you you may have the best ideas and strategies and even have the right people in place, but if you don't know how to manage your finances, you won't have the means to sustain your startup and your dreams, of course, overall. So whatever it is that you plan, for the students here, whatever it is that you plan of doing, now is the best time to start. Don't get me wrong, I believe in planning and foresight. You don't just foolishly jump into things and then start, okay, I can start it now. But as the saying goes, fail, as cliche as it sounds, failing to plan is planning to fail, di ba? And of course, don't overthink it. Don't allow perfection to keep you from trying what it is that you want to build or what it is that you want to start. You can plan all you want, but you'll never really know unless you take the first step. And since you have time, guys are so young, you're still students. I wish I could go back to the time back in college and wish that I just, took all the time in the world to know more about how is it, what the market wants, or what, finding the right product for launch. But what's really priceless is to know or to take the first step now. Basically, progress is better. Progress, not perfection. Aim for progress and not perfection. So, I guess that sums up my presentation, and thank you so much for having me. I hope you learn from my experiences and my journey as a startup founder. If you have questions, I'm on Facebook or Instagram. I also mentor in Go Negosyo Philippines. So I'd be happy to help anyone here who has an idea or want to become a startup founder, or would be happy to be for you to be part of my team when you graduate.
Thank you so
Thank you, Bubbles, for sharing your journey along the way. We look forward to hearing more from you during our panel discussions coming up in a little bit. Now, on to our next speaker. He's a seasoned tech professional with heavy experience in software architecture and delivery, and is a graduate of Naga City Science High School. He's a DOST scholar and a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science graduate of Ateneo de Naga University. As Chief Technology Officer in his previous jobs, he delivered telco-grade high-performance messaging platforms and has led research and development and agile DevOps teams. In 2019, along with 4 other Bicolanos, he co-founded ThingsPH. He's the CEO and head of products of ThingsPH, delivering AI and IoT solutions to customers including LGUs, logistics companies, property developers, system integrators, and telcos. Please welcome our next speaker, Ardi Yanto.
Hello, I'm RD. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ThingsPH. ThingsPH has IoT platforms for developers and IoT solutions for enterprises. If anyone is working with IoT, you better check out our IoT platform to get free licenses. Our platform can be used for developing IoT solutions using any IoT sensor and any network protocol. I'm here with you today to share a glimpse of our startup journey that can probably help you navigate your own journey. In our case, it was a long and winding road, stories of success and a whole lot of failures. So, how did it all start? In 2018, a friend came to me for help. She is working for an IoT company and has a project requirement to deliver a complete solution. Without hesitation and with zero knowledge on IoT, I simply said yes, just cause I love challenges. Through the research process, I found that the existing tools for IoT solutioning are hard to use, costly, and inefficient. This gave birth to the idea for an easy-to-use IoT platform that will enable developers to easily create IoT solutions. In 2019, we started ThingsPH. The very first step that we did was to build a prototype. This is the first diagram for ThingsPH I created when I started to brainstorm for our IoT platform. Diagrams help me visualize problems and build different solution models, so you should try it. From the prototype, we built our MVP showcasing the strengths of our platform. 3 months into the development, we had our first paying customer. We followed a lean startup approach where continuous customer feedback loop is done to solidify the product features and come pre-validated by the customer. When COVID struck in 2020, it was unfortunately the time that we were also about to raise seed funding. It was a dilemma for us back then for our next move. Should we wait it out, thinking that the lockdown will end in just 2 weeks anyway? Or should we spend our time and bet for what could be our final move as a startup? All things considered, we immediately went into a hackathon mindset to try to help out. In a matter of 2 weeks, we were able to deliver Project Greengrass, a locally and internationally recognized COVID response solution. It's an innovative AI system that runs on top of existing CCTV networks for automated people counting and social distancing controls. For me, this was a testament on how agile you can really be using our platforms. The medium mileage and attention we got somehow validated that we are really onto something big. 1 year later, ThingsPH is now a trusted partner of system integrators, industry leaders, telcos, and enterprises. System integrators carry our product to become more competitive in their markets, regardless of the vertical. OEMs choose to sell their hardware with our software to deliver a more competitive product in the market. App developers use our platform to easily integrate IoT data in their own apps. As you can see here, the playing field for IoT is huge. IoT is the interconnection of sensors, cameras, gateways, and software to utilize data mostly in the operations and security use cases. There are many players here: OEMs, system integrators, app developers, connectivity providers, and it cuts across all industries. This is why we have strategically positioned our products in the middle of everything as a software as a service, set of smart APIs, AI APIs that future innovators like you will need to deliver revolutionary products to the market. More than an IoT platform for developers, we have also developed an enterprise portfolio to fit the requirements for the new normal, where unmanned remote automated monitoring and operations are now top of mind. We package our products in a way that our partners can easily sell it along with their own products and services. Smart energy and water metering, air quality and temperature monitoring, connected UVC light controls, and asset tracking are some of the many solutions that our platforms can support. We've done a lot, but yet there's still too much ahead of us. For young startups and innovators, just continue moving. Worry less, break things, make crappy prototypes. So long as you're moving forward and learning, then chances of success will be in your favor. My name is RD, ThingsPH CEO and co-founder. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your journey with us, Artie. You touched on some major areas that startups need to consider when growing their business, and we were able to learn a lot from you. Now, let me proudly introduce to you our next speaker. He's the founder and CEO of Pan Delivery, a graduate of Ateneo de Naga University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Information Technologies. He founded his startup at 19 years old while still in college and also through available resources in his environment. His 500 peso allowance, his brother's old motorcycle, old phones, and his mom's styro box. I'm pleased to introduce to you my dear friend, Jude Buelva.
I'm the CEO and founder of Pan Delivery. So Pan Delivery is a hyper-local delivery platform here in the BICOL region that delivers food, grocery, medicines, and so much more. So I am here to share to you my startup journey. So I started my startup when I was still 19 years old and still in college, way back 2017. So this was the first delivery I had. So ito yung araw na first delivery ko as a delivery rider and customer service representative. So I started the startup alone because, my parents didn't support the idea at first, even from my friends. But then I pushed through because of a book by Eric Rice called The Lean Startup. I've read from that book na, you have to really start now and then kasi you'll never know daw kung ano talaga yung effect and it will always be an idea kung hindi mo itatry. So, at that time, I never really had money. So, allowance lang. Yung 500 peso weekly allowance ko. And then, my brother's old motorcycle, yung styro box ng mom ko. I had a startup because of that. Tapos yung mga lumang cellphones ng family na hindi na ginagamit, hiniram ko sa family and then nilagay ko ng SIM card with my allowance and then poof, my business na. May startup na. I really learned a lot from that book kasi sabi din doon, don't be scared of failure kasi because of failure, you're going to learn a lot. And then that's what I did. I know it wasn't perfect at that time when I started startup, but then I learned from those mistakes that I've been doing when I built the startup. So yun, I've continued on with the startup up until I was able to meet a person who was part of the previous batch of Idea Space Startup Competition. So, I applied noong 2018 kasi I really felt the gap ng experience ko and knowledge as a startup founder. Kasi I was a student, plus I was still young back then, so I never had the experience to work, never had the experience to really run a company. So feeling ko noon I was really under-seasoned, under-baked as a startup founder. So I decided na to apply sa Idea Space sa 2019 edition ng startup competition nila. Kasi na-realize ko yung prize was really not, alam ko may prize money, but then I realized I really needed to be part of the acceleration program to really learn and develop myself as a startup founder. So yun talaga yung target ko. I really meet people who were also in the startup industry who can really share the experience and knowledge they have. So for me, malaking bagay na yun na natututo ako from fellow startup founders, from our mentors, from also the Idea Space team. So yung araw, that was me. Yun yung announcement ng top 17 na we were able to come through, diba? We became part of the acceleration program wherein dun talaga ako na-mold as a startup founder and as a CEO. I was able to really learn from various topics like finance, operations, marketing na as an IT student, I wouldn't really learn, diba? So, I really felt underbaked, but after the program, medyo confident na ako na I know what I'm doing and I know there's still a lot to learn pa rin. So, that was a challenge for me to really grow and learn despite the disadvantage of being a student, a young person, and also a startup founder that doesn't really have experience in the corporate world. So yun, we got through the various stages, top 100, top 30, and eventually top 17. And it was the experience for me of the lifetime na malaking milestone yun para kay Pan Delivery kasi we were able to prove that we're something real talaga and legit. So in moving forward, the real experience for me na talagang nakakapag-fulfill as a startup journey is really to provide opportunities not only for businesses but also for individuals na gusto talaga ng career. I'm not saying na parang, Pan Delivery will jumpstart your career, but based on the experience na bigyan namin ng opportunities to work here, malaking bagay yun sa career nila na they're able to be part of a startup na hindi traditional. Kasi we didn't look about, hindi namin tinignan yung educational attainment. So, students were able to work for us. People na who barely even graduated elementary or never graduated elementary or never reached high school man lang. So, as long as they're willing to learn and put in the effort to really contribute sa startup, tinuloy namin sila. We hired them. So yun, moving forward, the really fulfilling thing for me as a startup founder and the highlight of my experience is really providing opportunities not only sa businesses na nagiging partner namin and sa pagdo ng business, but also helping these people, building teams, meeting people from various walks of life, gives you a lot of space and information to really learn and grow on. Kasi ako, di ba, I came from a background na medyo privileged, but then these people are not. Pero we meet halfway to really make the experience more memorable. Kasi malaking growth din yung pinagdaanan ko dahil sa mga na-meet ko sa tao na naging staff namin and then part of the team we've had. So, yun, malaking bagay na nagbibigay tayong trabaho for people na who actually needs it, diba? Who actually would make sure na, it's gonna be a worthwhile experience working for a startup. So, and one thing na I'd recommend for startup founders is to be brave, push your idea, don't be scared of mistakes. Kasi whenever you make mistakes, you keep on learning and growing. So don't forget to keep on learning and growing. Never give up and be brave. Just keep on pushing. Kasi you'll never know yung sinasolve yung problem and your solution is something na you would learn on, grow on, and then makakatulong pa sa community. So yun, that's my startup journey and I hope natuto kayo. Thank you so much and bye.
Now we're on to our panel of speakers. They'll be joining us for a group discussion. So joining me now will be Magno, the founder of Noika, Artie, the founder of Things.ph, Bubbles, the co-founder of Easy Franchise, and Jude, the founder of Pan Delivery. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hi,
Jojo.
good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Hi,
So
Jojo.
I think maybe...
Hi, everyone.
Hi, guys. So I think maybe what we could start with is, I kind of wanted to know, what would you say is one of the success factors of your startups in being able to capture their markets?
RD?
Me? Sige, so I'll start. Okay, so in my case, I guess it's it's the flexibility and accommodation sa customers. Because being in the innovation space, medyo mahirap eh. Hindi nila masyadong nagigets what we are offering, our product. Yeah. So we give free POCs and then maraming back and forth na communication with them for them to understand. And then we explain in different levels on what we do. And then sometimes may mga components kami kasi in the IoT, there's multiple components na. And then we are only offering software. Then yung customer, they want everything. So they want hardware, they want the connectivity, and they want software. So what we do, we give everything. So we get free hardware from our partners. We give them free internet or LoRaWAN access, and then yun. So basically accommodation. So we give them the best accommodation as much as possible.
Nakaka-relate ako dyan,
Yeah.
sounds like you have to also educate your customers as to what you're
Yes.
providing them.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about
We
how about
educate a lot.
what are the types of like considerations that you take into account when you're trying to capture your market?
Well, when I started kasi pan delivery, yung pinaka naging problem namin was really, the market was really non-existent at that time here in Naga. Siguro nag-rely ako nun sa execution, sa support, and then yung mga typical na not giving up, and then the hype. Kasi essentially, diba, I was really trying to create a new market for Naga. It was really a different service at that time for the provincial area. Na parang, before, sabi nga sa akin ng mismong parents ko na, kaya pa daw nilang pumunta from point A to point B, but sila papadeliver. So, essentially, mas mismong parents ko hindi sinuport yung idea at the start. So, I really had to execute na mapakita ko, ma-prove ko sa parents ko mismo na this type of business model really works here. It's just that it's a matter of adjusting and making it more comfortable for the users to actually get into this type of service. Kasi before, talagang walang may idea na pwede pala mag-deliver ang mga restaurants here without having their own delivery services. So basically, the struggle of explaining talaga. So I agree with Sir RD na parang kailangan mo mag-explain like 10 times. No, lalo na nung nag-start ako, I had to explain 10 times kung paano siya nag-work. Kasi sabi nila, paano kami magde-deliver ng walang delivery service? So, essentially, the idea of, pleasing them na ganito may discount, ganito lang yung fees. So, basically, ang daming perks nun kung pinakauna kang partners kasi lahat ng libre bibigay mo talaga just to make them understand how everything works. Pero moving forward, siguro, yun, hindi mo lang talaga i-give up yung mga users and clients mo kasi they'll eventually understand how everything works. So yun, that's how I started to capture my market in terms of my business model and all.
Here's a question. What motivates you guys to keep going when you face challenges in your startup?
Magna.
Sige. Okay, so the Nueka today isn't really the first. The current Nueka is basically Nueka version 2 na for us. In other words, we've had a startup before. We also acronymed it as Nueka. But yeah, fast forward, it was a failure. We were building an iPad point of sale system. We started building it in 2011. 6 years after, by December Christmas party of 2017, we know that's it. I mean, everyone's gonna lose jobs and all. That's one of the most difficult part. Seeing to it they get 13th month pay, seeing to it that everybody have a Christmas party, and then towards New Year and all of this. And as founder, yung hindi mo masabi na actually after all the parties and New Year, wala na tayo next year. So that's the most difficult part. What kept me going? Well, when you think about your people, you can't give up eh. Kasi alam mo yun, I used to, I think most of us are inspired by Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel. Everybody wants to be like that. So I was also, part of the hype and all these things. But you want to be rich, powerful, famous, all of these things. But in 2017, what's the point of of trying to be wealthy, powerful, successful like the others? It wouldn't matter anymore. Eh? Parang at the face of layoff and etc. All you want to do is to sustain the livelihood of people. Never mind the fame, success, and all of these things. You just want to see to it that nobody loses a job. And December, Christmas season, everybody was happy, but it was only me who was emotionally struggling. So the short answer to your question is people. S- By January, actually around December already, working, I was already approaching family and friends, uh, telling them what's happening and the danger of closing up.
Yeah.
The good thing is many family and friends helped me. So by January of 2018, I have a little money to start again. So pag New Year, uh, we're a new company. So yeah,
It's always
people.
good to have the support of your family and friends.
Yes, yes. Financially, friends, gave you, not really gave you, like gave you. They said that, okay, here's the money. I hope by now you learned.
Oh
It's here.
man, it's a hard lesson learned for sure. I'm sure that that's some experiences that some of the other founders may have also had if they when they started their other startups too. What about you, Bubble?
Well, well, for me, my biggest satisfaction, I guess, for being a founder of Easy Franchise, and also the main motivation would be probably having the platform that help other people in achieving their goals, their invested goals and their dreams, and while making mine a reality. So I guess every founder has their own dream, and we all try our best to get them to be able to run the race and pull others with you, just like what Sir Magdo said. No, so and to have that's a gift for us to be able to help other people, and to have that as like my little superpower is just like the main motivation for me as a founder and to keep going.
I can
Yeah.
relate to that, especially with us when we're talking about Agrabah. We kind of really focus on that's what pushes us forward too is like
Yeah.
the people we're supporting and giving them better livelihoods. And I think that really does ring true across everybody's startup that's here. So it's pretty amazing. I'm really, really lucky to be talking to all of you guys right now.
If I may add, Jojo, this is quite. I'm not sure if you. I'm sure you can relate, but founders were naturally charismatic and were very driven, and when we talk to people, when we encourage them that, hey, join me because we're gonna change the world. Sometimes it works. In fact, most of the time it works. But the danger there is at the moment when it's not working. How do you kind of tell them that, what, it's not working, and
How do you
basically you're telling them that I failed you.
no. So it's having
It's
to like
my
figure out how
concrete
to bounce back
experience.
from that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, so how do you now tell people who sacrificed, who believed in you, that they can change the world with you? How do you kind of tell them that things things doesn't seem to be working? The thought, the idea that I made them, niligawan ko sila, then niwala sila,
Mm.
they trust you, they believe you. Tapos sasabihin mo na lang, sorry guys, it's just not working. Parang yun yung part na hindi yata pwede. Kailangan yata
Yeah.
manghiram ng pera sa family and friends.
I'm sure a lot of other founders also went through that, especially during the times of COVID and this pandemic when a lot of businesses were shutting down. Like, I'm sure that a lot of people went through that same experience. And it's a pain. It's like, it's a growing pain,
For sure.
but it's something that you bounced back
Mm-hmm.
from. So, I mean, that's a testament to, your strength as a founder. So I think that's amazing. In actuality, you guys, this is like you guys answering this question of like, what were the bottlenecks in your startup journey that you think aspiring startup founders should be aware of? I'm sure Magno just answered that, but I'd really like to hear from Jude and the others. What else would you
Well,
want
okay.
other founders to know about or be aware of as they're going through that journey?
Well, for me personally, having a co-founder, well, I started my startup kasi alone, diba? I didn't have a very solid co-founder. I started everything alone, went through the journey alone of building the startup. But throughout the journey and then joining Idea Space, I really learned how a co-founder, the value of a co-founder really is. Kasi, you know, I think everyone agrees na the journey tends to become a very sad and lonely journey at some point, especially kung founder ka alone. Then you're thinking about the whole company as a whole, kung ano yung gagawin mo for your team, for what you're gonna do tomorrow, for your operations, what you're gonna do for your marketing, etc. And as the CEO, you tend to think about everything. So it tends to be it tends to be a lonely job then talaga. So having a co-founder to really help you out is something na I really think a startup founder should really think about. Kasi getting the right co-founders and getting a co-founder even is already something that can take a lot of weight from your experience, from the journey. Kasi, di ba, ang hirap na maging startup founder. What if solo ka pa? So I think the burden really is heavy enough na mag-isa ka lang. And then, moving forward, ikaw lang talaga yung nagko-call ng shots. So, yun yung nakita kong bottleneck ko during the startup journey. Kasi, I, th- I can't be everywhere at once, diba? So, yun yung naiisip ko palagi when I started the journey as a startup founder. Na I just wished na somebody was kind enough to partner up with me when I started Pan Delivery. So, yun yung naging bottleneck kong malaki.
If I may add to that, kasi super the same experience with my previous and my first startup that I built, no? I mentioned about this to you, Jojo, no? Create.ph. It's a produce subscription that I did back in 2015. So in relation to having a co-founder, I guess you mentioned one of the bottlenecks. What would be the bottlenecks? I guess for me, this was a bottleneck and at the same time the cause for a failure to, back then in create, because in my past experience and maybe on my part as the solo founder that time, I got a little impatient, and to be candid about it, I got a little cocky and greedy, and I wanted to fly solo even when other opportunities came up where help presented themselves, and I refused to collaborate. That can happen to you as a co-founder, and that was one of my major pitfall. I refused to collaborate. So when I fell by myself. So during that time, it was really hard. Kasi syempre, like what Jude was saying, a co-founder is there to help you. So that time, I knew, no, I could do it. It was doing well. But then, things happen. But I learned from it. And that's the reason why now I'm a co-founder of VC Franchise. And I found the right partners to work with. So that's really one of the bottleneck and a pivotal experience for me.
How about you, Artie?
Okay. Yeah, just to add dun sa mga issue nyo sa co-founder, well, missing co-founder, right? So yeah, that's right. You need co-founders. So yeah, in my case, what I did is, well, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses. So when I started Things PH, I know that I need people, na mga trusted people ko. So yeah, so yun, sama-sama na kami sa start pala. So but yeah, so pagdating naman bottlenecks sa business, no. So I think for us the greatest bottlenecks is sa well, funding, definitely, because we're doing a lot of product development and we're trying to sell the business model na sa enterprises, license fees lang. So they don't pay for the development, right? So they just we want them to buy the license fees lang. But during the sales process, they're looking for features na wala pa, hindi pa nag-exist. And we have our own like product, may product roadmap kaming plano, but they're looking for this, right? Now, what do we do? Do we stop our product development? Then ito yung gawin namin just for them to be able to like buy 10 licenses, or we ask them to pay for the development. So most of the time nag-i-stack up na doon yung sales pipeline dahil ayaw naman nila magbayad, right? For a big amount of money just to get the features. So medyo ganon, chicken and egg problem kami pagdating doon. So pagdating naman sa, well, I think any startup company, funding yung talagang bottleneck. So nawawalan ka ng gas, right? So you don't have enough money to get more developers, more QA to continue the product development process. And then, yeah, so everything is really going to stop. And then you just wait for mga low-lying fruit, right? And then just try to, makagawa ng sales kahit konti just to keep it going. So yun, funding for me is the major bottleneck. And nung nag-COVID, medyo yung mga fundraising activities, if you're not on logistics or food delivery, mahirap kumuha ng funding.
Right, right.
Mahirap kumuha ng funding. So yeah, so that's for me.
Same din, Jojo. Nasa stage na rin naman kami na we've exerted as much effort as we can. We've made the most out of what we can, being bootstrapped for 3 years. Yeah, so same kay RD. We're now at the stage where we are open for venture capital funds. So yeah.
The struggle is real, guys, when it comes to fundraising. I'm right there with you. What did you guys say is your most important ally in your startup journey? Who would be your most important allies in your startup journey so far?
Well, for me, based on my startup journey, it really is the community. I mean, not only yung community na siniserve ng startups namin, it's really the startup community as a whole. So, involve sa experience ko kasi when I got involved with the Manila startup scene, meeting people, learning their experiences from fellow startup founders. Doon nag-start talaga yung confidence ko as a startup founder na this is how I should do it pala. This is how they did it. Can I really apply it on my startup? So it's really the community you really involve in kasi you get the support, you get connections, you get the network that would actually prove parang yung success mo moving forward. Kasi if I haven't joined Idea Space, up until now, hindi ko siguro alam yung ginagawa ko. So, okay, nawala si Jojo. Ayun. Kasi, to be honest, when I started the startup at a young age, I never really understood kung ano yung finance, ano yung operations, marketing most especially. And I was an IT student. So, my background wasn't really at par with building startups maliban sa tech. So, yun lang yung pinaka-strength ko was tech. But then, when I was surrounded by people who weren't even in the business sector din or hindi rin na-graduate sa business, doon ko na-realize na pwede pala ako maging startup founder din kahit hindi ako graduate ng business or something. So, yun, it's really the community.
Yeah.
Kasi moving forward, you'll meet people na, baka investor mo pala in the future, baka future partner mo on your next startup, or industry partner, like magiging partner mo siya moving forward sa business mo. So, it really is the community. It's the most important ally. Maliban sa magiging future clients and customers mo siya, it's really how you will grow and learn from the community you surround yourself in. So, yun.
Yung hugot ko kasi I came from a failed startup, so the Nueka version 2 or try again is medyo medyo iba na, medyo natuto na ng konti. So in a way sharper than the first attempt. And the years I did the first startup, even if it's basically a failure, marami kang tao na na-meet doon, that from family to friends to clients to everything, na most of them are actually your allies in your try again, in your version 2.0. So yeah, so that's the beauty there. In fact, many of my friends who helped me with my try again were ano were my friends as early as the first startup. So they give advice, they give mentoring, they tell you, remember sa first try mo, I told you it's not gonna work. Now you know. So siguro na makikinig ka na ngayon and things like that. So it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, made allies with many people who were there.
Yeah.
But the truth is, in the second, in my in specifically for Tindahang Tapat, there were many new allies. Um, I made new alliances. I made new friendship, kumbaga. Uh, Many of the support I'm getting now were started as a business conversation, and then as the conversation towards the business progressed. Today, I would say that these people are more like friends to me than business partners. So yeah, it's I made I made a lot of friends out of initial business conversations in the beginning, and they are our biggest help, alliance, if you call it, support, in almost all aspects of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, guys.
Right.
All of that stuff is so amazing.
Welcome back, Joe.
You know, when you're talking about bottlenecks, I think one of the biggest bottlenecks for us is like the internet connection sometimes here. I don't know if you guys can relate, but
I think everyone does.
well, I think in closing, what would be the best advice you would give to aspiring startup founders?
Well,
Joe?
I can go first. Pero, yun, based on my experience kasi, you really need to find someone as your co-founder. Not only siguro for work, but also who shares the same passion as you. So, if you have a problem that you really want to solve, that co-founder has to be as passionate as you in solving that problem. Kasi the solution, 'di ba? Kung ano yung effect ng chemistry nyo between your co-founding team, it really affects how you really solve the problem at hand. So, as problem solvers, 'di ba? Startups are problem solvers essentially. You really have to share the same passion. And also create a good culture fit in the team, siguro. I think that's one thing na when you're starting a startup, it really has to have a culture of its own. So it may be siguro as weird as Google, mga ganun, or as formal as any other company. But it really is important that you really have to set a culture that the company would bring throughout the journey of its startup. Diba? So yun, that's my advice.
Thanks for that, Jude. Anybody else want to impart knowledge on the aspiring entreps out there?
Okay, ako na muna kasi para
Well, for
sila na
me,
yung
I
huli.
guess with my hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, go for it.
I'm hearing some feedback. Hello. All right. So for me, I think one of the things that I'd impart for any aspiring founder would be that, you could build the right product that your consumer need or build the right processes in place. But as a founder, one of your responsibilities is really to monitor and take note of your cash flows. As in, that's really important. For me, I guess what helped me the most is
I love this. I love this.
diba? I mean, let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. I mean, that's actually was part of my the biggest lesson that I learned in all of these years. Because I did marketing, I did operations, I did product creation in the previous startups. But being a founder helped me understand how to run a business as an entrepreneur. So, which is cash flows basically. And if you neglect that part of your business, sometimes some founders would say, "No, I don't want to give that to the CFO or give that to the accountant." But no, as a founder, that's really one of your main responsibilities. And that was one of my pitfall. That was one part of my pitfall in Create.ph. So right now, one of the things that I really monitor was my cash flows, and I learned how to budget, make sure that I don't go beyond that. And I think one of the things that helped is that I'm a mom, so you do that at home also. So that helped me a lot with how I manage my startup. So yeah.
Artie, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just to support what Bablos was saying, no. So yeah, cash flow talaga is something that you really need to look out for. When we started, I plotted this timeline na when we start this month, After 6 months, may seed funding tayo makukuha. And then after 6 months, meron na naman pera. Turned out, walang nangyaring injection ng cash. So, and then yung cash flow were uncontrolled. So, yun. But yeah, I think ang pinaka naiiwan ko siguro sa mga startup founders, no, as a lesson, no, when you start talaga, it's going to be very exciting, right? So sabi nila, make a startup, it's fun, di ba? But I think,
Yay!
Hey! Parang nakakatawa
yeah,
direkto.
it's fun. And then until until you experience your first failure, right? And then your second, and then your third, and then your fourth. So one advice ko is expect that there will be a lot of failures. And then when the time comes na well, gulong-gulo ka na, right? You don't know what's happening. Look back. Remember why you started, right? So balik, reset, and then re-strategize, and then continue moving forward. So
Vitality.
failure acceptance, it's normal, right? So any
Ah,
regular mga business operations, you can learn all that. But failure, dyan nasusukat kung sino yung makakarating sa next stage, right? Okay.
Now I feel like I'm the oldest kasi si RD. Unahan ko sana eh. Usually the older daw is the one in the going last. Sana si RD kasi sisingit sana ako after ni Bubbles eh. Yeah, I think I have to agree with everything that was shared. I echo the same thing. We share the same experiences. Um, Advice, I really don't have much advice, but I just want to probably share a discovery. Um, yeah, starting a company is really about material achievements, right? Like I said in my story, you
Yeah.
want to be Steve Jobs, you want to be Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, you want to change the world. It's interesting how this very worldly and material attraction towards fame, power, and wealth, and all of these things magnetizes us to really start, let's start something. This is fun. Artie said, this is fun. Let's do it. But the interesting thing that I've learned over the many years is that over time, your material, worldly motivations to set up something can naturally trick you into realizing along the way that at the end of the day, none of this really matters. I'm not sure if I'm able to explain this very well, but all I'm saying is that come to think of it, at the end of the day, what does it matter if we made it to be a 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion company? Or what does it, I mean, Steve Jobs explained this very well, right? He realized that at the face of death, none of this really matters. And it kind of changed the way he ran Apple. If you've heard of his speech at Stanford University. So, what I'd like to share is basically, yes, as founders as we are, we look at the numbers and achievements and fame and all of these things. But me personally, I sit a lot, usually in the morning, and then another moment at night. And yeah, I sit and I think about these things. And it's very clear to me that at the end of the day, there's more beyond this material accomplishment that any founder could probably achieve. So, yeah, finding it difficult to explain, but that's what I realized over the many years. Let's found our companies. Let's make our investors wealthy. Let's provide a livelihood for our people. Let's give them the best salary that they can possibly have. Let's serve the community through the corporations that we build. And at the end of the day, I think that's basically it. It's not going to be about us as founders. It's not going to be about us being the richest personality, the most powerful and wealthy personality. At the end of the day, none of these things would really matter. So that's just what I want to share.
I totally get that. I think it revolves around the fact that, like, while we're setting these companies up, what we're really doing is helping build a bigger community and supporting each other versus it being like all about us as founders. It's more about
Right.
what's the legacy or the impact that we're leaving behind. Like how are we helping people in their everyday lives? So I really
I agree.
respect your answer. Thank you, Magna. So, guys, that about wraps it up for this panel discussion. I just wanted to say thank you so much and share my gratitude along with the BEECALL TBI team for having you guys be here and share your truths and your entrepreneurship journeys. And we hope that your stories and your contributions to this panel really will inspire more Bicolanos to start their startup journeys and become entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for joining us today, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jojo.
Thank
Nice
you
to
so
see
Thank
you,
much for
Arnie,
having us.
you.
Bubbles, Jude.
It's nice meeting you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Our closing keynote speaker is a Filipino lawyer, politician, and farmer serving as a senator of the Philippines since 2016 and previously from 2001 to 2013. He's a strong supporter of agtech startups here in the Philippines. Please welcome Philippine Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan.
Magandang araw sa inyo dyan sa BICOL. Una, binabati ko ang mga nag-organisa nitong Startup Philippines 2021 dahil sa inyong sulong na pananaw at buong loob na paghakbang tungo sa mas moderno at mas matibay na bansang Pilipinas. Sa gitna ng mga problemang hatid ng pandemya, korupsyon, tumingin kayo sa mas maaliwalas na bukas at nagtanong, paano tayo babangon ng mas malakas at mas masigla? Ang kulimlim ng mga ulap sa isip ng ating mga kababayan, paano natin hahawiin? Habang maraming Pilipino ang nalilito, natatakot, nangangamba sa kung ano ang mangyayari sa mga darating na araw, narito kayo, Startup Philippines 2021. Buo at lakas ng loob na naghihikayat sa mga kababayan natin na gamitin ang lakas ng imahinasyon at sentido komon para makabuo ng mga negosyong moderno, sayantipiko, malikhain, kakaiba at higit sa lahat, matagumpay at maghahatid ng ginhawa sa buhay ng marami nating mga kababayan. Alam niyo po, hindi lamang po ako isang senador, ako rin ay isang magsasaka. 10 taon na this year na nagsasaka ng gulay, vegetables, dyan sa Alfonso, Cavite. Kaya ako nag-umpisang magsaka 10 years ago. Ito'y dahil chairman ako ng Committee ng Agriculture noong 2010 at matapos kong bisitahin ng napakaraming iba't ibang klaseng mga farms, aquaculture farms, vegetable farms, rice farms, at iba-iba pa, I realized na hindi ko mararamdaman ang tunay na karanasan ng ating magsasaka kung hindi ako mismo ang mag-umpisang magsaka. At doon ko nakita ang napakatinding hinaharap ng mga magsasaka natin tuwing tinatamaan ng kalamidad o kaya iba pang mga pinsala. Naranasan kong maubos ang aking mga tanim nung tinamaan kami direct hit ng bagyo. Naranasan ko rin ang mga peste ng mga suso dahil na rin sa pagkabago ng klima. Naranasan ko kung paano nagiging tegang ang lupa dahil ito'y kinakailangang araruhin ng husto matapos ang matagal at mainit na tag-init. Talagang ibang klase ang nararanasan ng ating magsasaka. Talagang mapapabilib ka. Tinamaan na nga ng bagyo, naubos na ang lahat, ngunit magtatanim muli. Pagsasaka sana sa usapin ng kanilang mga batas na kakailanganin, ang aatupagin ko sana sa Senado muli bilang senador o re-elected nitong 2022. Kung hindi po ako tinawag ni Pangulong Lenny para samahan siya sa matinding laban sa susunod na taon. Ang isip ko ay nasa kalalagyan ng ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda, ang mga tao na nagpapakain sa atin. Paano ba sila maiahon sa gutom? Paano sila maiahon sa kahirapan? Paano sila maiahon sa utang? Kaya nang narinig ko itong proyektong ito, nag-alala ako. modernismo, teknolohiya, negosyo. Iniisip ko, kasali ba ang mga magsasaka at mangingisda sa pangarap na ito? O tulad ng maraming ibang mga proyekto at programa ay nakakaligtaan ang ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda? Makukumbinsi ba ang mga magsasaka at mangingisda na sumali sa matatayog na proyektong ito? Baka maiwan muli sila. Baka maiwan na naman sila. Ngunit nung nakita ko ang mga proyektong negosyong pasisimulan dito sa Bicol, nang malaman ko ang matapang ninyong mga panukala, ako'y natuwa. Sinama ng mga taga Bicol ang nasa sektor ng agrikultura. Bagkus ang mga magsasaka at mangingisda ang siyang naging sandigan ng mga technology-assisted projects ninyo. Isang digital platform para sa mga nais mamuhunan sa agrikultura. Isang subscription na nakabase sa pamilihang bayan. Isang mapanghas na programa sa pagtatanim ng gulay gamit ang tubig o hydroponics. Teknolohiya bilang tulay mula sa sakahan diretso sa hapagkainan. Mura at sariwang pagkain at dagdag kita sa mga nagtatanim at sa mga nangingisda. Mabuhay kayo! At ngayon sa pamamagitan ng Startup Philippines 2021, mayroon na kayong isang buong komunidad na magtataguyod ng inyong mga bagong sibol na negosyo. Ito dapat ang pandemya natin. Pandemya ng pag-asa, ng pagbangon, ng paglikha ng mas maginhawang bukas. Isa na lamang ang dapat ninyong tiyakin at pangalagaan. Ang inyong mga bagong sibol na ideya, panukala, plano, pangarap, negosyo ay mangangailangan ng proteksyon. Proteksyon laban sa gobyernong walang pakialam, proteksyon laban sa malalaki at banyagang negosyo na kontra sa inyong adhikain. Napakaganda ng inyong mga plano, pwedeng masira ang lahat ng ito kung walang pakialam ang administrasyon sa inyo. Kung meron tayong natutunan at nakita dito sa pandemya, kung ang gobyerno ay hindi agad kumikilos o makupad kumilos or paiba-iba ang patakaran, lahat tayo masisira. Yan ang nangyari, yan ang dapat nating iwasan. Ang inyong mga sinimulang pangarap, ang inyong isinilang na proyekto ay dapat alagaan ng isang gobyernong marunong magmahal. Isang gobyernong hindi kayo iiwan sa hirap. Isang gobyernong marunong magmahal ng radikal at sasamahan kayo hanggang tagumpay. Palagay ko sa ating mga kababayan sa Bicol, alam na natin o kilala natin sino ang ganung mamumuno sa ganung klaseng gobyerno. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Diyos mabalos.
Thank you, Senator, for your kind words and continued support of Filipino startups. That concludes this event for the evening. I hope that this event has inspired you to start your own entrepreneurship journeys or continues to inspire you as you grow your startups. On behalf of the BEECALL TBI team, we'd like to share our complete gratitude and thanks to today's panelists and keynote speakers. Your stories are important to share with this growing community, and we hope that it inspires more Bicolanos to venture into entrepreneurship and developing their own startups. BEECALL would also like to thank the government of Naga City for their help in helping organize this event. We'd also like to thank the organizers of the Philippine Startup Week 2021 for giving us this platform to highlight the startup talent and entrepreneurs of BICOL. Mabalos, and thank you, and good night.